equity through amplifying the voices and vision of innovative educational leaders, practitioners, and learners from South Africa.
My name is Julian Hewitt. I'm the CEO of Jake's Gerwel Fellowship. And I just want to land us a little bit today. And I guess this has really been a little bit of a catchphrase for us this year, because we've felt like we've been quite a visionary organization. But every now and again, it's quite nice to have climbed a mountain and get to the top and appreciate there's some action that we can look back on. So Jonathan asked, has anything good come out of Komadacha? Can you answer that? Can anyone answer that? There's a lot of shaking of heads. Komadacha is a little town in the Eastern Cape, very close to Somerset East, and is the home of Professor Jakes Gerwel. Now, of course, we're named after Professor Jakes Gerwel, and so there's a good reason for that. He was part of the inaugural board at the Alan Gray Orbis Foundation. They're our sister scholarship. But more importantly, he was a teacher. And the impact that he had in our education landscape, particularly heading up as VC, the University of the Western Cape, that was a bastion for quality education in the then apartheid days, was something profound for our country. And of course, this was recognized with him moving on to head up the Office of the Presidency under our first democratic president. And there's an interesting thing here. When we first approached the family to say we'd love to recognize his legacy, he's a very humble man, and the idea of a fellowship being named after him didn't sit comfortably. But when we go back 5 years later, and his son and his wife see where we're at, I think they're also very excited about what we've done. One of the things that makes the fellowship so unique is the intersection of how we want to make a contribution in a more institutional way. We're not a numbers organization in terms of filling science and maths teacher gaps, but we're there to support people to become expert teachers, but we're also selecting people that have a tremendous propensity to be education leaders and be very entrepreneurial within the education system. And where these three things meet is where the magic happens. So 5 years later, when we look at that person in the back, Mlamuli, who came from Mutu, near Tugela Ferry, in very deep rural KZN, he literally told us the story that it was not only his first flight to come to our selection camp, but it was the first time that he'd seen white people outside of a couple of cars driving past on the gravel roads. Mlamuli is a teacher down south in Glen Vista. In our first M&E assessment, the things that we selected him for came up incredibly well. He didn't do well in our selection camp because he didn't have the language. His airtime had run out at our selection camp to express himself in an English-speaking environment in isiZulu. But we saw through our selection process and his psychometrics that this is somebody exceptional that we can work and develop. He had by far the highest development in all the competency areas we tracked in our first M&E assessment conducted by ERA under Professor Johan Maton. Not only that, but he became a distinction student at your university, Prof, and became the go-to person as an accounting tutor and started to assume these leadership roles that we were so proud about. And he's an incredible teacher now. You'll have a look at Gugu or Situmbiso. She sits on our board as a candidate fellow. She is an ambassador for T4 in South Africa, one of only 2 or 3 ambassadors in our country right now. And she is at the Good Hope School in Khayelitsha, where she already is the grade 11 head. Remember, these are people that have been in the teaching space for 6 months. If you look a little bit more behind her, that is Notando. When Notando gave her speech about the impact she wanted to make in South Africa in the year 2030, she said, I want to be the education minister. Very clear about that. But what I love now is she just wants to start by being a brilliant teacher. But her journey will continue. And so I love that vision and then seeing how it's going to take her places. Lerato recently was published in the Mail and Guardian for writing an op-ed piece on why we should make a strong case for bringing entrepreneurship into the classroom. Tramna, I'm going to leave that, Prof, for you to speak about, and your engagement with her. So that's a story you'll have to look forward to. Murray Hines was our very first DUX student, head boy, straight A student, and we've got a number of them in our fellowship right now. As Matabo said, we believe firmly that the best should teach. Boitumelo Diale is on this year's Mail and Guardian Top 200. She is our 4th fellow to be awarded this, and keeping in mind that the other 3 haven't even become teachers yet. And yes, we lose some people to countries overseas like Japan and China and Vietnam. But Bongani, we brought him back from Vietnam, and he's now in Deep Rural Limpopo, teaching at a school there. So I'm proud about us reversing that brain drain. We'll have one of our very own, Piwe, chat to you a little bit later, and he's in the room too, and I'll let him share his story. And then I'm putting a little spotlight on someone who wasn't there, Jessica. She is head of AP Maths, straight out of doing her PGCE at JP Boys. These are just some stories I can tell you from our inaugural class. We're doing something right here, and we want to do more of it, which is why we're here today. So I'm going to run through briefly our journey. About 6 or 7 years ago, we pitched to what's now the Allen and Joe Gray Philanthropy, to people like Trevor Manuel and Professor Gerwel Ndebele, to say, we want to be a game changer in the South African education space. And we're wanting to create a fellowship that's aspirational and puts teaching on the front line so that, Jane, it isn't a fallback career. Now, this is our founding team. And James, you mentioned in your stats at your 30-year anniversary, your founding team has been together for about 21 years. There are 5 of them. That's our founding team. We're still together after 5 years as well. So this is the team that has brought us so far. And of course, together with our inaugural university partners, UP and UCT. ERA we brought on almost from day one under Professor Maton. And our selection process has been consistently celebrated as a best class initiative in India. This is our board. You'll see some of them in the room today. The only person that's not present is Rachel Nyaratso Adams from Harare and Chinezi from Nova Pioneer. And again, our selection process was featured at the National Assessment Center Group in South Africa. 2019 felt a little quiet for some reason, but we did launch an online learner management system. But we made up for it in 2020 when COVID hit, because Carla helped inaugurate our graduate teaching fellowship, which is our flagship program now, 4 new universities. And at our summit event, if you ever want to get good people to speak to, we had those 3 people speaking in South Africa for the first time. Andreas Schleicher, OEC Director. Vikas Porter used to be with the Global Teacher Awards. And also Maggie McDonald, who was the inaugural winner of the $1 million US Global Teacher Award Prize. We've subsequently had 2 more international winners speak at our summit event in July. We're very proud of the fact that JET joined us for a 5-year partnership last year. We were also recognized as a runner-up in 2 categories in the Innovation Awards in the nonprofit sector. And we were one of 20 organizations profiled internationally around the theme of how do you use a selection process to basically rectify some of the unequal distribution of talent in the teaching space. And we'll chat a little bit more about Northwest University and Stadio, who we're going to bring on board as our online partners until the University of Pretoria have an amazing online PGCE that they're busy building for us. Hey, Prof. All right, so I'm going to wrap up, but really the heart of what we do, this is the JGF journey. We nurture expert teachers who embrace innovation and change. I think that should be hopefully evident. And this is the journey that they go on. And we're hoping, if you look on the right-hand side, they will help lead change. I think, Prof, that's a nice photo of you on the right-hand side. So we're very, we've started to embark on this journey in a big way, in which this is why we're really gathering you together today. This is our inaugural group. This is what the fellowship looks like down the line. And these are incredible teachers that are in schools and classrooms across South Africa for the very first time this year. Now, remember, when we started with this crazy idea of saying the best should teach, it was really hard work to get people to apply to become teachers. This year, for our graduate program, we had over 22,000 people complete the first stage of our eligibility quiz. Of that, after the entire selection process, just under 3,000 were eligible. We interviewed almost 600. We took 185 people to an assessment center over 3 days. And we'll only offer 65 of them scholarship opportunities. And this is in a country where we want more talent. So we've got huge scope to grow our impact here. And that is why we're here, is to say, we had a point to prove 5 years ago. I think we've made that point. And now the invitation is to say we want to walk with you so that our journey can be wider and deeper and further. And thanks for joining us today.
Now, the heart and soul of this program are our candidate fellows, the people that benefit from it, the people that make it what it is, the people that make it worthwhile. And this way, I'm trying to invite Balisa to come through and just share with us what her journey of being a candidate fellow here is like. Balisa, please come over so that you can share how we are making the best people become the best educators in the country.
Thank you, Sis Kaya. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Valesa Mlambo. I am a candidate fellow. I go to WITS. I'm doing my PGCE majoring in English. So I'm just going to briefly talk about my history. So I come from a family of teachers. And what would happen would be that whenever we'd have conversations with my mother and my grandmother, they'd always talk about how teaching was the only thing that they could do, and they had bigger dreams, but their dreams were unfulfilled because at the time, teaching was the only thing that was available for them. So for a while, I viewed teaching as just this thing, this terrible monster that stole my grandmother and my mother's dreams. And I felt responsible for dreaming bigger and chasing my dreams as an ode to them, as a thank you to them for making the sacrifices that they made. And so for me, I wanted to be a chef. When I was in high school, biggest dream was to be a chef. I wanted to be the next Nigella. But unfortunately, that never happened because when I had the conversation with my parents, I was like, I want to be a cook, not a cook, a chef. The first thing that they said to me was, like, did we really work so hard for you to go and cook something that you can do in our house, please? So what they suggested was go to university, get a degree. And that was not my dream. So I found myself in a similar situation as them, chasing something that was not my dream. I was fortunate enough to major in philosophy and psychology. And I gained so much from my degree, as much as it's not something that I think I can use, but it poured so much into me. It made me reflect. It made me look at myself through a different lens. It made me understand that I am not a one-dimensional being. There's more to this life. Opportunities are endless. It's just a matter of applying yourself, finding what fits, what is good for you, and following that. So I began to rebel, and I decided to do my honors. My parents, again, did not understand why. Because you have this degree, go work. Make us proud. But I had to do what was true for me. I had to find myself. I had to figure out what worked for me. And what I realized was that I loved academia. Academia is home for me. And I realized that my purpose is to serve. And my purpose is to serve through academia. I want to help learners understand that I'm more than just maths and science. I don't have to be a doctor or an engineer because society says that is the only way that I can be seen or recognized as a person. So that inspired me and that made me want to be a teacher because I felt that it would be a great opportunity to break the cycle of one-dimensional thinking and seeing education and teaching as this less than profession. Because if you think about it, teachers are the people that make dreams come true. Without a teacher, we wouldn't be able to, I wouldn't say think properly, but we wouldn't be able to communicate as effectively as we'd want to because they give so much to us. So I want to give that and more. And so I started my PGCE journey. My supervisor used to say this one quote every time I would be shaky. She'd say, "Throw yourself to the world and the world will catch you." I applied for my PGCE. I had no idea how I was going to fund it because NSFAS was doing its own things and I was just so stressed. But I decided I'm going to throw myself to the world and the world will catch me. And JGF caught me, which was such a blessing and such an amazing opportunity that I do not take lightly. I found that JGF was more than what I was sold. I found so many tools that helped me because I think that as young people, we are ready to break the cycle. We are ready to make a change. It's just that in most cases, we lack the tools to make that change. So with JGF, I found that I had all these tools in my hands and I had so many opportunities and so many great things happening at the same time. Access to Professor Janssen and his amazing talks. Access to programs like Learning to Learn, Teacher Choices and Actions, all these things that so many, and this is so unfortunate, so many young people like myself do not have access to. I also found something that is so close to my heart, a community. A place to vent and just be me. And that I appreciate more than anything. So before I leave, I'd like to just share one of my favorite quotes. It's by Albert Camus, he's a philosopher. And he says, "Do not walk behind me, I may not lead. Do not walk in front of me, I may not follow. Just walk beside me and be my friend." JGF has been my friend. JGF has been more than a friend. It's been a safe space for me. I've met so many amazing people, change makers, your Boitumelo Diale, your Iviwes, people that I sit with and I think, oh my gosh, wow, I want that blazer next year. I want to see myself. I know I'm probably going to cry, but I want to see myself walk through that stage and say, yes, we did it, and we will do more. So thank you, everybody.
Great. First of all, I didn't want to be introduced. I asked Mem Kaya that I don't want to be introduced because I want to take ownership. They're teaching us ownership. This is me trying. Of course, I'm a teacher. You're not going to get away without any homework. Be prepared. All right. First things first, ladies and gents, I am Superior Mnis, as I've been introduced. Newly qualified teacher at JGF, and I'm currently teaching at Abbott's College, Northcliffe. Truth be told, I never seen myself as a teacher. Not at all. I always wanted to make money. Money has been the key. So obviously, if you want to make money, where do you go? Business. That's where all the money is, right? So yes, I decided to go through the entrepreneurship route. I was very entrepreneurial in school, and I did my first degree with the University of Johannesburg in entrepreneurship, of course. Fortunately, through the passion and the like, I got a position to be a trainee manager at one of the prestigious companies. And I worked there. The money was there. I enjoy the environment, but then I asked myself, what impact am I making? You know, with all of this money that I'm going to be acquiring over the years, when I'm no longer in existence, who will talk about me the way that people talk about Professor Jakes Gerwel, right? Then, to everyone's surprise, I also surprised myself. I resigned. And when I went to my parents and I said to them, I'm actually planning to resign. My dad didn't say anything. My mom was like, are you okay? I'm like, yes, I am okay. I'm planning to resign because I don't feel like I'm making any impact. Like, all right, great, resign. What are you going to do? I don't know. So what about all the money that we spent on you for the past 3 years and you want to resign? I was like, yeah, I understand that, but I'm sorry. I have to resign. Well, when after submitting my resignation, my dad looked at me and I saw it in his face that if this gentleman had a gun, I don't think I'd still be alive, honestly. But anyhow, through the grace of COVID-19, I stayed at home having nothing to do after I've resigned. And I kept on thinking, now, what next? What do I do, right? I was obviously looking at things from the entrepreneurship point of view. But then, like I said, through the grace of COVID-19, there was a pool of students. I'm from rural Tsakane in the East Rand, a pool of students who couldn't attend school anymore, right? Because of the numbers, and they wanted to do mathematics. I was like, yeah, sure, come, I'll help you, free of charge. And to my surprise, my class started growing. Please don't tell. I hope this is not recorded, because we're not supposed to have a lot of people in one room, right? But my class started growing, and I realized that this is an opportunity for my income. And while doing that over the years, a friend of mine came to me and said, are you noticing the impact that you're making? I'm like, what impact? Like, you're a teacher. Start teaching. Me, teacher? No ways. I'm not going to be a teacher. I never dreamed about that, right? But I was like, sit down and think about it. Look at your class today and the impact that you're making. And I realized that, all right, maybe I need to restructure. Maybe this is probably where I belong. And so where am I today? This is where I am. These are one of the few WhatsApp messages that I get from my students, telling me the impact that I've done to them and thanking me for quite a lot. This morning, one of them called me in particular and said, sir, I see that you're not in school. Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm just attending a JGF event. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm happy that you are fine, you know? And such things to me, regardless of the financial side of it, but this makes me feel it worth it to wake up in the morning and teach those children. So JGF gave us a challenge and said, Vision 2030, what problem are you solving? Obviously, now you need to start narrowing things down. As a business studies and mathematics teacher, I decided that, you know what I'm going to do is work on this challenge within business studies of us lacking the skills to implement, because that was one of my challenges. I graduated well in school, but now I want to start my business. Where do I go? I know all the theory. Who do I talk to? What do I do, right? So I've noticed that gap within education, that the skills that we're currently gaining, especially within our current CAPS curriculum, are not giving us the right tools for us to address the 21st century challenges. So that's my Vision 2030. I'm not going to go deeper into it due to time, but of course, we all know the rising unemployment rate that is currently going on in South Africa, and it is change makers like those which we have in class who will be able to mitigate those problems. And it starts with me impacting the learners accordingly. I just put an example there of Steve Jobs as well as Mark Zuckerberg. The least certified people have actually built international businesses which make an impact, which is a hint there's something wrong with our education system, right? So there's something that we need to take from them and put it in class so that we can be able to create more leaders like them. That's my Vision 2030. So how has Jakes Gerwel Fellowship assisted me in that? It is a big dream. Obviously, if it was easy, anyone could have done it. But Jakes Gerwel Fellowship assisted me to be able to conceptualize the problem, understanding that as big as it is, I need to focus on the now. I remember Carla Watson speaking last year in one of the events, and she said, I understand your vision 2030s, but one of the most important things now is get that degree. So I started looking at my challenge in increments, knowing that I need to take it step by step. At the end of the day, everything will connect into one big piece. Of course, I won't do it alone. It's a community. I believe that's why most of us are here. And I also believe that through the other candidates, we will be able to achieve our vision, right? I also got the opportunity to be part of the Learning to Learn course, which developed me greatly in terms of understanding how children learn and how people learn in essence. Me aiming to impact the curriculum, Learning to Learn qualification made a big role. So whatever I'm saying is nothing new, ladies and gentlemen. It does already exist. So we have one of the top countries in South Africa, not in South Africa, in the nation, such as Norway and Finland, who are actually great when it comes to their education system. Something that we need to take from them and plug into South Africa, right? I've actually downloaded this Global Human Capital Report, which reflects that when it comes to education, we need to recognize the knowledge, the talents, the creativity, as well as the skills of our learners. I think we're doing well when it comes to the knowledge. But what about looking at the creativity and the skill side? It becomes a problem, right? In closing, I should say that this report highlighted that globally in the world, yes, we are achieving about 62% of our human capital, being able to achieve those 3 segments that I've spoken about. But then there's this 38%, which talents is not recognized. So that's where I actually tap in. If you are interested, of course, you can download this entire plan. I am a teacher. I need to make sure that everything that I've said has synced. Everyone understands. So what did we talk about today? Spoke about the problem that I'm solving, right? Spoke about the solution. And also understanding that this is not a quick action game. It's a long-term vision. So as a teacher, I am dedicated to this for my lifetime. I might not even achieve it during my lifetime, but I definitely know that if I am lucky enough to be able to be like the professors here and create more leaders who see the same vision, then of course the vision might or will be in fact achievable. It is possible, and one of the most important things that I've actually dedicated to myself is to have fun within the entire program. In the classroom, presenting here, one of the most important things is to have fun. Thank you for your time, Lisa.
Thank you, Sipiwe. Education leaders, creating other education leaders. Thank you, Sipiwe, and I really hope that you have been able to witness what JGF is trying to do. You have been able to witness what it is that we're trying to do with friends like yourselves in the room. And I like what he is saying about the fact that it's not a quick win, it is a long-term journey that we are on.
A lot of brilliance about JGF has been shared today, but brilliance is practical work. Now, what is that work? So highlighting really what the leadership component is, the entrepreneurial mindset that informs what we now understand are our newly qualified teachers.
Thank you, Matabo. Morning, everybody. My name is Carla Watson. I'm originally from the Western Cape, and I'm a recent semigrant to Johannesburg. I come from a family of 5, and I'm a founding member of the Jake Scalpel Foundation. Many things, but I'm a teacher, high school teacher. Yes, Ma'am Lachaba, high school teacher number 1. So thank you, Matabo, for this question, because it's a layered one. But the philosophy of the program that's applied is that our students are going to learn how to teach at a university, at an excellent university. We're going to stay a bit out of the PGCE program. So we're not looking at curriculum. We're not looking at the type of school for teaching practice or anything that happens at the university. Instead, we take up a significant amount of space, and maybe Spiwe can talk to this as well under Matabo's guidance, of the other side of becoming a teacher. What can be called the hidden curriculum, but we stimulate the understanding and social awareness of being a teacher in the context of the school that you're in. And with respect to some of our universities, there's not enough attention put on the person in relation to the school that they're at. And obviously, we drive that with our teacher choices in action. But as an organization, as Jake's Gerwel Fellowship, first and foremost is where are you in relation to somebody else? We ask our students to teach for 2 years, not only because teaching is where we need to be, but also from an entrepreneurial perspective is to understand the problem. We can do textbooks, we can do coding, we can do what, but until you've been in front of a grade 9 student that throws something at you because they're cross with you, then we can start to consider how we can solve and overcome this challenge. So a big focus of the Graduate Teaching Fellowship is to stay away a little bit from the PGCE side, but focus significantly on how to stimulate our competency framework within the entrepreneurial mindset, entrepreneurship, which comes a little bit after that, and then, of course, the leadership component. Another philosophy that we were applying in our curriculum is teachers are teachers, but they're also community leaders. And when you are embedded in the context that you are 8 hours a day in schools, need to understand and engage with the community of your students. And if, thanks apartheid, the spatial community of where your school takes up, at least take a sense and a cognizance of that. And what becomes significantly apparent in the work that we do is the deliberation, blessing and burden at JGF. We deliberate, we go round and round and move with intention so that when a teacher stands up in the class and they misgender, or they get a clan name wrong, or they take the lazy route to pronounce a name, they fundamentally have made a mistake. And JGF is one of the first people to reflect that back to them and go, how does this show up in your class? How can learning happen if you're not acknowledging the students in your class as a leader and as an entrepreneur to understand the problem and how you can overcome it with significance? I can keep going, Matabas. I need you to come in because I love this. Please come in.
Thank you so very much for that. So at JGF, as we saw with our attempt at speed dating, a huge mantra of ours is to follow the puck where it's going, right? We follow for the benefit of those who don't engage ice skating. Let's say we'll follow. No, it's always the puck. Sorry, I can't recontextualize that for you. So we follow the direction of the leader, the forward thinker. We are in the stream of forward thinking. But in a meeting that we had this week, Julian, I proposed that, well, we are fast becoming the puck. And what happens then when we are that? And I'd like for you, Jeremy, to speak about our internship program that we seek to pilot, the intentions behind it, how we can maximize in getting expert teachers into South African classrooms.
Thank you. I see there's a clock here. I didn't notice that before. Obviously, we're on the clock, so I'm going to speak quickly. My name is Jeremy Gibbon. It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you for coming. I come from a family of teachers. My father is a principal. All my siblings are teachers. And I taught for 25 years and was school principal. So I love schools. I get the most energy out of them. And my passion has always been around how do we get the best teachers into the classroom. Whether I was teaching, whether I was a headmaster, or now as a father for my own children, how do we get the very best people in front of them? How many people sitting in the room qualified as a teacher? Can you just see? You are the people that we're trying to find in JGF. People who qualified as teachers and are change makers and leaders in education. You are them. We're trying to find them when they're 19, 20, 21, 22, and intentionally nurture their journey that many of you represent. That's what we do at JGF. We've been doing that for a couple of years. At the end of last year, we came across or were made aware of the research that RECEP had done on teacher retirement waves, tracking the age cohort. And were challenged, really, by the researchers to say, JGF's doing something, but at 60 students a year, you're not solving any teacher crisis. You're finding future leaders in education, and that's fantastic. But is there a role for us to play? And so for the last 6 months, myself and members of our team have been looking at this retirement wave research and trying to think about how best we could potentially respond at scale. And so some of the key issues for us are that the number of teachers we need to graduate over the next decade far exceeds the capacity of our current system, as we just read it. So we have to graduate outside of the system. And that's where the concept of distance PGCE comes in. Obviously, distance education is something that one can scale relatively easily. So that's one aspect. The second aspect was the role that a degree and PGCE can play as a recognized pathway to initial teacher education. Prof has spoken at some length. I think many of us have engaged in a variety of different areas in the country where that route is looked at with some skepticism. And we believe JGF has a role to play in establishing the viability of that as a high-quality route to teacher education. The one-year distance PGCE, we believe, partners brilliantly with an internship at a quality school that can provide good mentorship for that year of qualification. And then, just like the program that Carla has discussed, we believe that the first 2 years of teaching, of your first post, the newly qualified teacher stage 1 and 2, is a make or break year. And so our 2-year NQT program, we feel, dovetails nicely with a PGCE internship, and that model has the potential to scale significantly outside of JGF, in collaboration with JGF, in collaboration with partners sitting in this room. So our commitment over the next 6 months is to engage with different stakeholders to bring together in the room those people who'd be interested in following a distant PGCE internship model with a 2-year NQT, provincially based, to meet the needs of different provinces. Okay.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for that. A lot of the work that we do is context-facing, context-specific, cognizant of where the person is and what it is they need to do. Spiwa and Palesa, I'll give you a question that you guys could share. One being that you exist in a community, and what does it mean to exist in a community of people who are like-minded? You are doing your PGCE, you see the gaps in the system. We were speaking just last week, Saturday, at your OCM, aka the teachers venting session, where you were telling, where you were sharing with me that you are the third teacher in this year alone to be hired for business studies, and your learners, first thing that they asked you was, well, Mr. Mnisi, how long are you going to stay? It's one thing to give someone money to go study. There's another when you can take that kind of experience and contextualize it in community. How has it been for you being part of this fellowship? Palisa?
It's been amazing because I've met so many people who have been there for me, and not in the sense of sugarcoating things for me, but holding me accountable and pushing me towards the potential that they see in me that I sometimes fail to see in myself. So it's been great for me because I've found myself taking space and being encouraged to do things that I would never do things that I would never engage in, facilitating, working on the various projects that we're exposed to, like with Access Ed and with Connect Hub. It's been amazing for me.
I'm sure people in the room can identify with that matric anxiety of how marks are a reflection of your skill set and your aptitude and capacity as an educator. I will ask that 2 individuals engage our panel just shortly. I'm not looking at Kaya. I am not nervous at all that we are close to 5 minutes over time. So please have my back here in terms of exercising the skill of precision in your asking and in your commentary. So yeah, is there anyone who'd like to field a question? Is there a reflection from all the times that our candidate fellows have come and spoken? Is there anything that you'd like to field to Carla and Jeremy? This is your opportunity.
I think it's inspiring. I sat there this morning, I told Julian just now, you feel this tingle in your back that something is happening here that is really good. And I just want to compliment you on the work that you've been doing. You've been building a solid base, and other organizations will look at you and will build on that as well.
Thank you so very much. And we're keen to leverage in community in making this better.
Thank you. And good morning once more, colleagues. Kelly von Chaba from SACE. and a teacher before any other professional accolade I acquired after. I've got quite a number of qualifications, but the first one that led to them all is being a teacher. And what I'm seeing in them, it's really what I wanted to see when I left the classroom, to say, I'm going out there to be the change I want to see. The first results of grade 12 that will be coming will be reflecting on the vision of this country, on what you aspired to see happening. And I want you to reposition yourself well to say, these are not my results, but these are the results of a collective that stood behind me and supported me to be where I am, starting from the teacher in grade 1 to the fellowship that assisted to you to be where you are. And I want to say thanks to the fellowship for the great work that you're doing. But my little plea is that, please, before, from now going forward, before they can even be finalizing the process of going into being members, let them be my members first, because we need to have a fit to practice quality educators. And it is my duty as SACE to take care of this. So allow me to be part of you to make sure that we give this country fit to practice quality teachers. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I feel so compelled in a room of teachers to say, I may not I don't have a SACE qualification, but I am a Sunday school teacher. I am a teacher of some sort, even me. I'm a teacher of some sort. So thank you so much to